BaconBit.
We needed that third one right there.
Let's just make that's our whole review. No, we're not. Wolverine isn't here. Wolverine is not
Is
here.
he not? Spoiler. Huh?
Hi, listener. We are going to be reviewing today Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
That's the one.
Which is the second installment of the animated Spider-Man franchise.
The Spider-Verse franchise.
Yes, let's say Spider.
Yeah.
Because No Way Home
Miles
kind of-
Morales or Spider-Verse. Because that's probably the...
I think Spider-Verse is the draw.
Is it?
Yeah.
It is. Although
Miles Morales is the lead of the Spider-Verse
but No Way
movies.
Home had Spider-Verse in it as well.
But it wasn't titled that.
It was not.
Because the first movie was called Into the Spider-Verse.
And
Yes.
if you use the multiverse...
And this is Across the Spider-Verse.
Across the Spider-Verse Part 1.
It will just Across
They
the
take it
Spider-Verse.
away because the third part will be called Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah,
Instead-
it is
I mean,
good.
that's better than Part 1 and Part 2.
Yes. So Ken and I were able to go see this at a screening, and we're going to be giving a spoiler-free review for this first little part. Once we enter spoiler territory, we will alert you, and Zach will also leave at that point.
Just
I
know
will
we'll
leave.
be-
I am not a spoiler person. I generally don't care.
especially Marvel movies,
But
right?
especially Marvel movie. I care about this one.
Yeah.
I look forward to this movie.
So you will be forced
This
to
is one
leave.
of our most anticipated movies
Yes.
of the whole year.
Well, and just doing a quick look back, I really enjoyed Across the Spider-Verse. No.
Into the Spider-
Dang it, I did it again.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Across Beyond.
I really enjoyed Into the Spider-Verse.
No, it starts with Rise, and then it's Dawn, and then it's War.
So
And then
last
it's FX. and
Rise
then-
of Skywalker is the last one.
Somehow.
And then Dawn of the Planet of the Sky. Okay.
Yeah. We're the worst.
No, I really enjoyed the first one. I was able to see it at the critic screening, 2019?
2018.
2018. This was, I think it was released in December.
Yeah.
I was able to see the screening with Kent. Unfortunately, I was late to the screening. And we sat at the opposite ends of the theater and watched the whole movie. And I was so sad.
It was
Yeah.
very
And then
sad.
we had to go out to pizza afterward and talk about it. But I thought it was a refreshing take on a familiar story.
on a much rebooted franchise.
They found a way to do a reboot in a really cool way, in that we're giving you a new version of Spider-Man, kind of. We're giving you a familiar version of Spider-Man. We're giving you all sorts of versions of Spider-Man. And again, with at this point, we might be able to call it revolutionary art style.
Yeah.
And just the general pacing and humor of it. Like, I just think it's a winning movie all around. So that makes me excited for the next one.
Okay.
Gentlemen.
All right. So your anticipation level for this one is,
Very high.
but not your hype. You're trying to bring that down maybe a little bit.
My hype level is high, but like not leave the baby in the crib and go see the movie high.
Okay.
Like I'm not rushing out there.
You don't have to leave the baby. Trust me.
Well played.
Yeah,
well played.
you'll
So
get it.
let me give the
Okay.
synopsis for this second movie in the series. Miles Morales catapults across the multiverse where he encounters a team of spider people charged with protecting its very existence. When the heroes clash on how to handle a new threat, Miles must redefine what it means to be a hero.
Okay. And this, who does it star, Kent?
It stars, voice actors, I should say.
Yes.
Shamik Moore as the voice of Miles, Haley Steinfeld as Gwen, and Oscar Isaac as Spider-Man 2099.
And you get other voices in here, Jake Johnson from the last movie, but then there's newcomers like Jason Schwartzman, Daniel Kaluuya, Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
There was a couple different. You said Oscar Isaac, right? Yes.
I mean,
right.
he was a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
He was in the first one.
Yeah. But it was just, a lot of the same voice actors you knew in the first one coming back. And that's, always nice when they're able to get the same people, especially since this was so long ago.
I specifically did not hear mention of Nicolas Cage or John Mulaney.
Uh-huh. You didn't.
Okay.
You did not.
Very good.
But here's the funny thing. I remember when I first watched Into the Spider-Verse and Shamik Moore, I thought he was a kid.
Yeah.
I
Same.
thought
It's just so
right.
good.
And I was like, is he going to be able to, is his voice going to change? Are they going to have to get a different actor?
Well, he's a full-grown adult.
he is,
so-
because he was born in 1995.
Okay. Is he like 13 in the first movie?
The character?
The character.
He's going to high school.
Because in this movie, he's 15.
Oh, maybe he's going to preppy junior
He's
high.
like 15 or 16.
He can't drive yet.
Yeah.
I think he's 15. I think
Okay.
15 is what it said, yeah.
Yeah, because they keep mentioning in this movie how much he's grown, right? Because time has passed. It's been a year
Okay, I
since
was
the
gonna
last
say.
movie.
So he was
Oh,
14,
yeah, so
now
he's
he's
14,
15.
I guess.
Yeah.
It really is like him longing for his friends and just kind of wondering where they've been. Because he knows that these gateways are available. And yes, they had to close them for the last movie, but he's like longing for Gwen because he's kind of in like with her.
Yeah.
Like obsessed with her, keeps drawing her. He's lonely.
Aren't we all a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit.
It was a good character.
And then this movie centers a lot around Miles' family.
Okay.
The dynamic between his mom, his dad, and...
Mom is a doctor, nurse.
They don't go into
dad
it
is
here.
a cop.
Yeah,
That is
the
a cop is what the crux is here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But basically, they're just trying to keep track of him because... And that's bad for someone that moonlights as Spider-Man, but he is not...
They don't know.
They don't know. He's not very responsible. He doesn't show up where he needs to be. He doesn't really have a plan for the future. And he's trying to find out what that means to him.
And as we know from the original Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse in 2018, at the end of it, Miles is laying on his bed, and then all of a sudden you see the kind of the colors that imply a portal, and Gwen says, "Hey, Miles."
Yeah.
And like, want to, or what you say, like, want to go somewhere?
It's interesting that movie came out nearly 5 years ago at this point. And I'm wondering if they had the whole...
supposed to happen earlier.
So pandemic issues, because I'm
Pandemic
actually wondering if it's the animation that holds it up rather than the story they were trying to tell. Because this movie does immediately a year after, but it follows the first movie storyline very well.
Yeah, well, they actually started developing the sequel before Into the Spider-Verse, the original movie, was released.
Oh, that's smart. I appreciate
They
that.
started developing then. It was announced in 2019, and then they started work in 2020. But then there was some shutdowns and issues that happened, and so it got pushed back and pushed back and pushed back.
What happened?
I don't remember.
Yeah, weird. There's three years where it just kind of it's fuzzy.
It was a blur.
But I have to wonder if they waited for, I think, people to appreciate the animation in the first movie, and then it blew people away, and they go, we're going to do it one better. Like they took that, and they probably tripled what they did artistically, because I think they knew they had to beat where the first movie was.
Well, I mean, the original movie made over 3 times its budget.
Well, box office wise as well. Yes.
Yes, it did well, and people liked it. But I think they knew they had something on their hands. And the original animation style has a very comic book feel in the original one.
Yep.
And then this movie kind of just it same basic techniques.
Yeah.
But turned up to 11.
But it's like, and this is going to sound like a negative thing, but it's animation vomit, but it's visually pleasing. It's like a work of art.
I mean, I've had vomit that I'm like, not bad.
You're like, those corn chunks, those ham chunks.
No, guys, people are going to listen to this.
No, but it is something where it's like, it's modern art where there is so much thrown at you visually.
What is the term Walt Disney used about, it's like cocktail party, something like that, where he puts so much going on that it takes repeat viewings to really appreciate what's happening. Like at Disneyland, he does that, where he's like, there's so much going on that each time you get kind of a new experience, each time you ride, and you're like, oh, I didn't see that before. Like I felt like this movie did that.
I would even say at this time in this movie, they know at times they don't know what to do with the pacing.
This movie is long.
It is very long.
It is 140 minutes, 2 hours and 20 minutes, which I found out is the longest animated U.S. movie.
What?
The longest.
This is the longest animated American-made movie.
That's what I read. And I looked it up, and the next highest movie that I saw that I recognized was The Tale of Princess Kaguya.
Oh, yeah, we watched that.
And it was 3 minutes shorter than this one.
Yeah, but that one was made in Japan, too.
Exactly.
So.
But then I kind of went down, and I'm like, man, I can't see another film here I recognize, because they were all Miyazaki's that I recognized.
And I think they do some interesting things to keep your attention. There's a big part of the movie, I would say in the first to second, it's kind of a bridge where the animation stays the same. It really is a lot of family drama, and you're kind of wondering, wow, they're really getting into character here, which I don't hate, but you're like, I came here to see a little bit more. And then when it gets into a little bit more, it absolutely delivers, and it keeps your eye paying attention at all times. So much that you get lost in the shuffle.
The next one I recognized in regard to longest animated was actually the 1978 Lord of the Rings.
I was wondering about that.
Which was 8 minutes shorter.
Is that British made, though?
It says United States here, but 8 minutes shorter than this movie.
Wow.
And Fantasia is actually shorter than this movie by... Fantasia is 126 minutes. This is 140 minutes.
But like, time's not equal there. Fantasia's much longer.
It feels much
in reality.
You're like, oh, thank goodness Mickey's there.
Yeah.
So I did feel like it felt long, and I especially since this is a part one of part two.
Yeah.
I was like, this is really like I think they could have trimmed a little bit, to be honest, and been okay.
We're not in spoilers yet, but you kind of wonder, hey, what are you going to save for part 3?
Yeah. And this is also darker than its predecessor. It's less funny than its predecessor.
Yeah, that was interesting, right?
Most of the humor, and this isn't a spoiler, you know it from the trailer, most of the humor comes from, hey, there's a different type of Spider-Man. that's where most of the humor comes.
Or
Real
the
good
family
mom moments.
dynamic really did make it pretty funny because it's just parents being confused about how to raise a teenager.
I really do like the parents.
Yeah, me too.
In this franchise.
Yeah.
They feel like relatable and realistic to me. So I like both of them. It is darker though, and I say that because as a parent with small children, it's not like it's like violent. It's cartoon violence, but just there's a heavier tone and more stressful things are happening, and some real drama happens on the screen.
Absolutely.
It is kind of people have equated to the Empire Strikes Back of this franchise, where it's like it's going to be darker and it's going to end on a cliffhanger, and you got to deal with that.
Yeah, and that's always going to happen. Any second movie that sets up this big finale, it's always going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm just looking. Did you go through the directors? Who
No,
directed
their
it?
first time we did on our anticipation episodes, but it's two newcomers.
Well, in IMDb list 3.
Ah,
So the first movie was, I mean, with a big film like this, like, yeah, people had different roles, right? The first one was Bob Barish Shetty, Peter
Zack.
Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman.
Yeah.
Written by Phil Lord and Rodney Rothman. That was the first movie. The second one is now, Joaquin Dos Santos, Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson. This one's written by Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
who we know from Lego Movie and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Yeah,
a lot
they're
of animated films we
typically
enjoy.
you know them for getting fired from Solo.
Yes.
And then Dave Callahan.
Okay.
So like different, sort of really the only thread here seems to be Phil Lord.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're telling me it's not as funny and Chris Miller has been added, and they're especially those two together are
But
known
they
for being
know
funny.
what they're doing as far as like having heart.
Okay.
There is heart.
It feels genuine. So you take away a little levity, but you have real sincerity.
Which
in the
is,
movie.
I think, one of the better things about the Lego Movie and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Like at the end of the day,
Right.
they do have a soul, something that might have been missing from,
Absolutely.
say, the Super Mario Brothers movie
or the
something like
Emoji
that.
Movie, where it's
Yeah,
like
sure.
just not to compare that to the Emoji Movie, but that's kind of the
No,
extremes
heavens
there
no.
of like good animation versus bad animation.
All right, so we could talk a little bit about some negatives there.
A little bit.
Slight negatives.
Because Kent, this is one of my most anticipated
Absolutely.
movies of the year.
Yeah.
May I go?
Yes, please.
Okay. I liked it. It's good. I didn't love it. And I especially didn't love it as much as the original. Now, Ken, I know you will because it's darker and more serious. You like dark and serious.
I sure do.
And I do too at times, but like I missed the levity. And there was just some things like I thought the animation. Okay, so first of all, the action scenes are fantastic.
They're fantastic.
I loved every time they started fighting, and it was so much fun the way they do the animation.
Does it still have the effect where you almost feel like you forgot your 3D glasses?
Yeah.
Yes.
Still has that kind of
Yeah, the
fuzziness.
blur-
For
Blurry.
a third of the movie.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
that
not
happens.
complaining about that. I think it's cool. It's just
And
something that did take getting used to.
That was a point I was going to bring up too. Is that I think the animation is, like I said before, it is very interesting. It's like the last movie, but turned up to 11.
For example, you have a villain drawn in paper on parchment.
Yes.
You have watercolor painting in this movie. You've got a character
Lego bricks.
in Spider-Punk, which is a character that's one of the prominent sidekicks
Yeah.
in this movie. And he's hand-drawn but graffitied at the same
Yeah.
time. And it just stands out
very hard to
compared to the
understand
other
what Zack
characters. Oh, absolutely.
So it's like when you're playing the Spider-Man for the PlayStation and you put on the wrong suit.
Yeah.
And you're like in the world and don't quite fit.
Exactly.
Kind of
Yeah.
deal. Okay.
But that's the whole point of this thing is like different people in different universes.
But what they do here is I think the animation creates a mood in a few specific scenes.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, and we can say this. I don't think this is a spoiler, but like for example, in Gwen's world, because it starts off.
By the way, Gwen is the lead character.
Okay.
kind of. Yeah, it starts off with her. It kind of ends
fine with that.
Which is great.
But and in her world, it's all this watercolor, and they change from camera shot to camera shot. Like she's talking to someone, and there's a background behind her. It goes to them, comes back to her, different background,
Yeah, that was interesting.
and it's related to her mood. I was reading up on that because it was a little busy and distracting at times. Sometimes the animation got to be a little too much, where I'm like, I can't process what's going on right now, and that also kind of made me go, I don't know.
Was that them flexing? Was that them
yeah.
saying, okay, look what we can do, and
Like,
we're going to do it?
You like that in the last movie? We're going to do it even more now. More sprinkles.
Sure.
Sorry, I didn't mean to use your nickname, Ken.
Oh, you stop it right now.
And I don't remember the first movie had some amazing musical moments, like that "What's Up, Danger" moment when he jumps off the glass.
Yep.
I chills every time I see that.
It
Love
was
it.
Kent's phone background for like 2 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was.
Oh, it's
still
not anymore. Dang it.
It's Superman now.
Kids.
I knew it.
Oh no, it's
Literally
not
Superman.
Superman. It's Superman. And then also with the "I Gotta Elevate" song at the end, my kids and I,
Yeah.
we always say "I got an elephant." We think it's hilarious, but we enjoy that song.
Nice.
But This song, this movie, I can't remember any of the songs. There was no real heavy musical emotional hits.
There's one, but I can see why you say that because it didn't have the same punch.
Right.
I would actually kind of disagree, though. I think the score here, they were really giving an honest effort.
I'm not getting bad about score. I'm saying I don't remember any of the songs.
Kind of like the iconic moments with the songs.
Yeah, there's
the needle drop.
They know how to build mood and tension. I was stressed out for most of this movie, to be honest.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I also just, it ends on that cliffhanger. I feel like a good two-parter, shall we say, a good trilogy, whatever, but they complete a story arc within the movie and then leave the door open for, and there's more to happen.
Right.
Even in Empire Strikes Back, there's an amazing showdown. He's able to confront and find out the truth about his father. I feel like I'm not trying to spoil Empire Strikes Back.
His father.
But you
What?
This guy wears black, right?
Yeah. He's kind of dark.
Somehow he returned.
Yeah.
No.
But they have that
Different
complete
thing.
story arc there. There is a complete story arc. This does not have a complete story arc.
No.
It's just an end. And I went, I don't like that. I don't like how it didn't really tell me a story. It told me part of a story. And so but like I said, I did like it. So I think it's good. I didn't love as much as the original. And much like the characters who travel across different dimensions in these movies, it is glitching right now in my mind.
Oh, okay.
Between a 3.5 and a 4.
Okay.
It's right around there.
That's totally fair.
I haven't landed yet. And 3.5 is above average, and 4 is I really liked it.
Yeah.
So it's there, but I can't quite really nail it down.
It's interesting, though. If you go online right now, the hyperbole is crazy. This is the be-all, end-all superhero movie. Not even superhero sequel. Superhero movie.
Yeah. So
Which is refreshing at a time like this when we just don't like them. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of nice to have something to be excited about.
Sure.
But this is a different animal.
And this is also within, 19 years? This is our fourth Spider-Man 2?
Oof, yeah.
Because there was Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2. And
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Far from whatever
Far
that is.
from whatever. Not home
Far
for
from-
the holidays.
Far from Nugan.
Still, Joel, your best joke ever.
It's far from home.
Far from Nugan.
Far from good.
No.
Just it's a lot of Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Spider-Man in general. I even including all the ones where Spider-Man is in the Avengers. It's like there's a lot of it, but this does feel like a different animal. That's why I think people are willing to accept
And
it.
I can see what you're saying. Like, is Into the Spider-Verse your favorite Spider-Man movie, or is it like number 2?
It is currently my favorite Spider movie, fully acknowledging that it's standing on the shoulders of previous Spider-Man movies.
Of course. But I would say...
Because you get more enjoyment out of it when you get the references of like, oh, this is what happened in the past. And when you see Spider-Man die, it has much more gravity to it.
This is a movie for Easter eggs. Like, it throws all that stuff in there, and you go, hey, I remember that character.
The first one where you saw Spider-Man dancing like emo Peter Parker.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff like that.
There is, and Zach, I know you have expressed fairly recently that you are not a fan of fan service in movies.
I'm tired of it a bit. This is a fan servicey movie for sure, right?
They lean into that to the point where it's literally there's images they'll have in the background where it's like, oh.
Which would have worked if they weren't so overt about it.
Yes.
I think. Because it's part of the theme.
Does
Yes.
this get a pass because it's animation? Like because it's such a false world.
Is it animation though?
Well, okay.
It's
In
so,
the different dimensions, some can be live action.
It's so visually stunning, and I think emotional when it needs to be, that it works. And that's why it gets a pass, because the story is found along the way. Usually in a movie, you know what the drama will be within the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because it needs to set that up. This movie, you don't find out what the crux of the story is until an hour and 37 into it, basically.
And then it starts picking up steam.
Oh, totally. And then it just doesn't let go.
Yeah.
Without a climax. But it's almost like they needed someone like Nolan to say, let's put things out of time, out of sequence, and let's tell Miles what the issue is early on so that there will be more drama.
Yeah.
Because when he finds out, he's like, oh, anyways, the trailer kind of tells the story. The movie doesn't for a really long time.
Yeah.
That said, I am kind of split on if I like this one or the first movie more, because I do like the more human element. I like the...
Just say darker.
I like the character emphasis. I
Just
like
say
the
you
fact
hate happiness. Just say that.
I like the fact that I was shocked at moments because of where it went.
Yeah.
And I don't mean the Easter eggs. We know that's coming. For me, I'm like, oh, that's cool. They got to throw that in. But as far as where the story could go and what the villain became, I started to really appreciate this movie, because the villain is a villain of the week, as they say. And then
I thought it
becomes
was
something
going to be.
a lot more
We'll get
substantial.
to that spoiler full section.
And I really enjoyed what they did there. They took something really simple and they're making it a great part 2 that ties in really well with the first one.
I think it does.
Yeah.
And truthfully, my glitch there is dependent on the next movie, which is coming out next year.
So that's
Right.
my question. Is this a pointless bridge movie? Or is it like its own story?
It's not a bridge. This sets the inciting incident in action. This is what kicks things off. A new story.
It mentions some things that cannot be ignored or bypassed really quickly. And so to get to the next movie, like they're going to have some impact.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of it is set up, obviously, for the next movie. I mean, does this feel like an incomplete story?
Yes.
That frustrates me. I to this day have not seen the movie Dune because I know that there's another Dune coming out.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Very
it's supposed
soon.
to be a continuous story.
Yeah.
And I just don't like that. I like the idea of movies that, they have sequels, but each individual movie tells its own story. I don't need to worry about this one.
Imagine Fast 10, which
Yeah.
ends on a cliffhanger. And that next movie's not coming out for like 3 years.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Which is frustrating to the audience.
Yeah, totally.
They already
Especially
have a
because I
plan for
heard
this
the
one.
cliffhanger. I was like, are you kidding me?
I ruined it for Joel.
Yeah, he did. But this one is a cliffhanger, but at the same time, it's like they're already working on it. They know where it's going.
But it's a cliffhanger with like a really solid note to end
yeah.
on that you're just pumped
Yeah.
up.
Yes.
Which is why you should be pumped up and get into the next movie in 4 months. You know, because they would
does-
really have some steam.
Yeah, I applaud of all franchises, The Matrix, for doing it right. Right? They
Yep.
they released 2 and 3 very close to each other.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I want out of this movie.
Right.
That's what I would have liked.
That's what does give me a little pause because again, I don't want to sit in anticipation for a long time. So
But
there's some of me that
also,
wants
do
to
you
wait.
see this in theater? You absolutely do.
It's got to be a theater.
It's
Yeah.
I wouldn't say got to, but I say it's a really fun.
And we
theater
even had
experience.
some sound mixing issues, which I think was probably the theater's fault for us.
I was really distracted
point
by
where
Was it on
some-
IMAX?
No.
Okay.
Where subtitles were needed for a lot of the movie.
at the beginning, especially every time there was a voiceover, the mix was off.
Basically, here's going. Let me tell you my story.
This is Tenet?
You know, it did seem like a little Tenet-ish.
I think that's just a general problem with modern movies. However, did you see it at my local theater?
South Jordan.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
My local theater has real problems with this.
Okay.
Do they?
Yeah.
I also had a
It does,
kid
actually,
kicking
yes.
my seat almost the entire time.
Wasn't it the worst?
It was.
There were
bad.
people dropping stuff. This is a full theater.
People
of
were
kids.
getting up and walking out.
Yeah.
Well, not like leaving the movie, but going down. Like a whole parade of people went down. I'm guessing to go to the bathroom, and then they all came back. And I was like, "What are you doing?"
Not that you pay, like I did notice in this movie that I was kind of squirming a little bit and try to get comfortable in my seat, and that's when I know that I'm not totally fully invested
Right.
in something because there were some dragging parts. Because really, there's
Well, you can't talk about the dragon, the spider dragon.
that too, right? There's 2.5 really major action scenes in this movie.
I'd say 3,
Okay.
or 4.
All right,
At the beginning, there's one,
at the beginning, at the ending.
right? And the part with we can't talk about it.
The end. Come on, guys. What are we doing here?
Yeah, we're just talking about movies at this point.
All right, so recommend. Got to go see it. Cautious recommend.
Heartily recommend. I didn't love it like everyone else, but I really like it. It's a B+.
So we're seeing.
Okay, but do you like it more than Into the Spider-Verse?
It's about the same.
You didn't love Into the Spider-Verse?
I kind of did, but I wanted more, I think, from the story.
Kent got mad because the Utah Film Critics Association voted it as their movie of the year.
They did.
And he's like, nope, can't have that.
Well, now I'm checking my grade, so we might as well get right into spoilers. Zach, you have to go.
Sunflower.
Was that the song?
Sunflower.
I got a spoiler full. 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 Okay, we're going to spoil the movie now. Zach's not even going to get to hear Kent's rating.
I walked into Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse with little more than apathy. I walked out having seen the best Marvel-associated production in years. I could easily recommend this to kids who love comic book movies, as well as adults who grew up with the love for the character. The movie says nothing in the end, but it's a really fun ride to take. B+.
Says nothing in the end?
Yeah.
Says nothing in the end.
Yeah. It's a great Spider-Man spinoff.
Anyone can wear the mask, Kent. That's what they say at the end.
Sure.
Okay, so this movie, so just jumping in real quick, 'cause now
We're
we're
at
in
spoilers.
spoilers territory. So if you haven't seen the movie, we're going to spoil it now. The action sequences I was thinking of is obviously the paper vulture in the museum.
Okay, I wasn't counting that.
'Cause that was my favorite one.
Yeah, that one was great.
The one
The spot fight.
The spot fight.
Yeah, I was counting that one.
which is
Yeah.
good. The Spider-Man chase train battle.
Yeah, and that was the one at the end for me.
The India battle. The Indian Spider-Man battle.
Sure.
And then the end battle with the
Okay,
Spot.
so they did kind of spruce it up a little bit with action scenes.
There was
in
a
there.
lot of fun in there.
Yeah.
The way they did that. I really enjoyed it. But I feel like, so the movie starts out with, and you nailed it, Kent. It's Gwen's story. it started out with Gwen, and I'm like, wait, but Miles, where's Miles? And I enjoyed the fight a lot. I enjoyed the drama that happened when Gwen has to reveal to her police commander father that she is Spider-Woman.
Yeah.
I liked that, but I do feel like her story at the beginning went on a little long. It was like a prologue that you're like, okay, let's get to the main story.
Well, it was also confusing in the timeline because she goes, my original friend was Peter Parker. Peter Parker did this thing to himself. He became the Lizard. He died.
Yeah.
And then it was like, but right now, I mean, there's a murder investigation going on for me. And right now, I just got out of the Spider-Verse. I didn't really know what fit where.
Yeah, that was a little confusing.
And like, you don't need to overthink it, I know. But still, at the same time, I'm like, wow, her dad is like waiting for a full year to really come after her.
Well, and she takes off her mask. Her dad's like trying to arrest Spider-Man. And then she takes off her mask in privacy, like the two of them. And he sees who she is. And then he's like, you have the right to remain silent. I'm like, no way. There's no way a dad at that moment would be like, I'm going to arrest you.
When it's just he and her.
Well, because he was arresting Spider-Man because he thought that she was Spider-Woman because she was responsible for the death of Peter Parker.
Right.
But when he sees it's her daughter, of course he knows she didn't do it on purpose. And yet he still started reading her Miranda rights.
So the movie quickly introduces two other Spider people. There's another Spider-Woman. The
Jessica.
Pregnant one on the motorcycle, and then there's Miles Morales, who kind of plays the near antagonist of the movie.
Yeah,
and his is a very interesting character that never gets explained. They try at times, but what they do.
Wait, Miles Morales?
Sorry, not Miles Morales.
No,
Miguel O'Hara.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah,
Spider-Man 2099. I'm so sorry. So
he's got like blades on his arms.
Yeah, and he's
blue and red.
He might be a vampire, and if you know a lot about Spider-Man 29, super cool. But in this movie, they cut off his backstory for a joke. Like he's like, I'm Miguel O'Hara and here's my story. And they're like, you've seen this all already. And I'm like, no. You should probably tell us.
And yet
because
they told Miles and Gwen's story again.
Because when they do tell you about Miguel, they don't really say anything. It's like he went to an alternate universe, took care of the daughter that wasn't his. It's the WandaVision story, essentially.
Yeah.
And things went bad. I was like, hopefully go more into that because I didn't really quite understand.
But one of his motivations for wanting to stop, because
he's a police force.
They've made a Spider-Man police force to go to different dimensions and stop anomalies from existing in dimensions they shouldn't exist in.
Right.
Because Miguel, when he tried to live in another dimension that wasn't his, they all ended up glitching and disappearing away.
Right.
And so he doesn't ever want that to happen again. But I feel that's a little flimsy of an excuse because he doesn't want Miles. He's against Miles Morales because, once again, we're in spoilers. The spider that bit Miles Morales was not from Miles' dimension. It was from another dimension.
Right.
And so Miles is infused with the DNA of this other dimension. And so he's like, well, you're going to cause all these problems, so we have to get rid of you. And I'm like, no, Miguel. You were a completely different person living in another dimension. You tried to replace someone. Miles is not doing that. He's part from his dimension, part not, and he's not trying to replace anyone. It's not the same story.
I think calling Miles the original anomaly was great.
Yes.
I love that story element that brings in the first movie because I go, Miles is bigger in this universe.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool that he has now this opposition with Spider-Man 2099. But at the same time, it was introduced way too late. Also, so was like the chasm, the rift thing that was going to destroy the planet.
Right.
Because I think through the middle of the movie, it's when they go to Mumbattan.
Yeah.
And they're there with Spider-Man India, and they stop what is now considered, and I thought this was a pretty cool element. There's a canon moment happening. It's like a canon element.
To put it in Doctor Who terms,
yes,
which I hesitate to do, there are fixed points in time that you aren't allowed to change. And Miles, not knowing that, saves some people that were supposed to die.
Yeah.
So we could say it. He saves a police captain from
Captain
dying.
Singh. And he saves him, and that was supposed to affect Spider-Man India in a really tragic way. But he saved him, and Spider-Man India is super happy. But then all of a sudden, the world, there's a big hole in the ground, and it starts sucking up the world, and that's what happens. That's what Spider-Man 2099 is trying to avoid. But that got introduced way too late into the movie. So in the beginning, it's all about Gwen deceiving Miles.
Right.
And it stays on there for a while, and him being grounded for a really long time. That's a joke. They just beat into the ground. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, this is world ending, what you just did. And then it was like, and we're going to stop you from stopping tragedy, preventing tragedy in your own life.
One thing I really liked is like, he wasn't just the main focal point of the Spider-Man, what are they called, crew, because he's the protagonist.
Right.
The original anomaly thing really did kind of be like, oh, that's why he's special. Not just because we know who he is, but because he is like a target.
Yeah.
I liked that
And I like that they called him like the original one because there's so many anomalies in this universe that aren't even Peter Parker variants. That you're like, why bother?
Yeah.
Do these Spider-Men, these spider people even go to their own planets and save the day?
Yeah.
Or are they just hanging out in the lobby of this future of Nueva York?
Yeah. Which was, like I said, it was fun, but that was where all the humor came from, was like, hey, here's
Spider-Cat.
Here's Spider-Cat, Spider T-Rex. And they had a lot of variations that have been mentioned in comics before. They have the spectacular Spider-Man at one point that made me laugh.
Tiny.
Lego Spider-Man.
I love Ben Reilly. I love the Scarlet Spider.
Yeah,
and
Andy
he was
Samberg
there.
did
Yeah,
the
and he
voice.
actually got like a decent part.
Yeah.
Super moody.
That made me laugh.
Yeah.
But I also, by the way, the pregnant Spider-Woman, Peter B. Parker comes back from the original movie.
Which was a breath of fresh air for me.
It was nice to hear him again.
Yeah.
Because it's the mentor. You're like, oh, it's the voice. I know that. And he comes in and he's carrying a baby, Mayday. It's his daughter May. They call her Mayday. But she has spider powers. He's carrying her in his, what is that called?
Yeah, that baby carrier, baby backpack. Yeah,
baby harness thing in the front. And which is fine. He's like, oh, how's it going? But then he continues to do battle and do chases with a baby strapped to his front.
Yeah.
So between him and the pregnant woman on the motorcycle, who was also driving around like crazy and fighting, I went, who's the worst parent here? Let's not just say, yes, let's bring these little children into fights. And I had a hard time believing either one of them would, especially Peter B. Parker, who's seen people die.
Granted, and that's the thing. There is tragedy in these movies. Yes, it's a cartoon. But even these characters should be treating their own lives with respect and stakes because they've all seen people die.
Kent, did anyone die in this movie?
No.
Wasn't that weird?
That's the whole point of the story near the end, though, because they get to this point. And granted, it sounds like we're being super negative. We could talk forever about the animation, but just know the animation's incredible.
It is incredible.
Just
Sometimes
know that the voice actors and everything, like with the family, and I would just say like the emotions ring true. But then there are issues with the story. And so they get to this thing where it's like, is it new Spider-Man canon? I don't know, but they talk about someone important to Spider-Man dying.
No, they don't even get that general. They say a police captain, close
and
to
that's where it's
Spider-Man,
leading,
has to die.
Whereas, as we know, and they thankfully say Uncle Ben. And then Peter B. Parker says, yeah, it's because of Uncle Ben is why this all is happening. And I'm like, okay, there's due respect. But then they say, but a police captain has to die in every universe?
Yeah, and I went,
what?
No.
Yeah.
Like the Uncle Ben thing is canon. Or even in the first movie, they're like someone close to them died. Like it was their friend,
and
their
in
mother.
the comics, they explain this, and in the Amazing Spider-Man, Captain Stacy does die.
Yeah. Which she does. But
it's not this big momentous thing for Peter Parker in his life.
I noticed as they were talking about the important things that happen in every Spider-Man's life, they're showing these pictures in the background. It's like literally the live action Tobey Maguire Uncle Ben death scene, and then Andrew Garfield crying,
which he does so well.
Yeah, he does. And Kent cheered a little bit of that part. I think. But then
I love to see him
when
cry.
they start talking about the captain having to die, they really only had the Andrew Garfield image up.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
This isn't really canon, but I do feel like it was them being like, look, we can't say the Uncle Ben thing happened because that already happened to Miles and it happened to everyone in the first movie. That was one of my favorite points of the first movie was when they start all talking about the different people they lost that helped them become Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And the captain thing,
yeah,
that was a side note.
He really cares.
So, yeah, I
don't know as a viewer if I care as much, and I love the characters, and that's what this movie's doing. But if either of his parents die, I go, that may be, I kind of like, maybe I'm like in the Spider-Man police force.
Yeah.
That's kind of what has to happen.
But I would feel that would be unforgivable for either of his parents to die. Because
it's his dad, by the way, that normally dies in canon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's what they tease here.
Yeah, because the dad is a police captain. In fact, Gwen's dad is a police captain who then retires, and then suddenly he's safe. Which I kind of went,
It's like he broke the Final Destination curse.
Yeah.
If you retire, then you're safe.
You're good. So it's like, okay, someone else close to you that's going to be captain is going to die. I don't know. The animation was really so good. At parts, sometimes too busy.
Yeah.
I really love the action scenes. Like I said, the story was good. Like you said, it picked up.
Yeah. It had
an hour and a half of the movie, it got going. And I was like, okay, I'm on board now.
And I think that the themes they introduced, because I noticed even with like the Vulture at the beginning of the movie, a very minor character in the scheme of things, there was a Vulture theme. And then Gwen comes up and I was like, there's a distinct theme as well. And then you have 2099 coming in. Musical themes. Yes. And I was like, they really are going for this one. And so with the animation, with the score, oh man, it really excels that way.
And that's why, but the thing is, I feel like the animation and the score is probably the reason why the time got a little bloated. It's like, we can't cut this out. This looks really cool. Or we can't cut this out. That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And I think that harmed the movie a bit because this isn't one kids are going to watch over and over and over again. I don't think.
It does age with the audience, though. Like if kids loved Into the Spider-Verse back in the day, they're going to be a little more mature now and go, yeah, I can handle deep stories. Kind of like what I'm saying right now.
But like Into the Spider-Verse, you can pop in that and watch it and be done and be happy.
Right.
This one, if you're going to watch it, you probably have to watch the next one before you're fully satisfied.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah.
That said, I totally got into it. I just don't know. I don't think it's the best superhero sequel of all time.
No. So there you go. That is our review for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and we hope that you go across our social media platforms and let us know what you thought of the movie. If you agree with us, if you don't agree with us, that's fine. We just like to hear from you. So let us know. This has been Baconcave.
What is it thinking about?
What is it thinking about?